The relationship between the Bubble Bobble soundtrack and its developer and publisher Taito is a story of how a company's creative vision shaped a game's identity, and in turn how that game helped define the company's reputation for innovative and unique arcade experiences. Taito's vision and the composer. The role of Taito was both to be developer and publisher of Bubble Bobble. So in the mid-1980s, Taito was looking to revitalize its presence in the arcade market. Game designer Fukio Mitsuji was brought on and tasked with creating a game that would appeal to a broader audience, specifically aiming to attract couples to arcades. He wanted to make a game that was cooperative, fun, and had a cute aesthetic. Music was part of Fukio Mitsuji's vision, so the game's composer, Tadashi Kimijima, worked under this creative direction. This single, endlessly looping main theme, The Quest Begins, was a deliberate choice. Its whimsical and cheerful nature was a perfect fit for the game's cute characters and colorful world. The repetitive, earworm-like quality of the music was not a flaw, but a feature. It was designed to be memorable and to set a consistently cheerful tone throughout the entire experience. We'll talk now about Zuntata. So while the game's music was composed by Tadashi Kimijima, it also played a role in the emergence of Taito's now famous in-house sound team, Zuntata. So the birth of Zuntata as a sound team came about when Taito Taito had a sound department, but the Zuntata name was not formally used actually until later in the 80s. And the success of games like Bubble Bobble and Arkanoid in 1986, both of which had critically acclaimed soundtracks, cemented Taito's reputation for having a strong and distinct audio identity. Now, the influence on future work is apparent as well. So the approach to sound in Bubble Bobble is simple, catchy, and really it's integrated with the game's core feel. So it became a model for Taito's future titles. So the company's sound team would go on to produce some of the most innovative and praised video game soundtracks in history, Zuntata would, particularly for the Darius and Groove Coaster series, becoming a brand in its own right. So in summary, the Bubble Bobble soundtrack is a prime example of a developer's philosophy being reflected in its product. Taito's desire to create a cute and accessible game for a wide audience was perfectly executed through both its gameplay and its music. The result was a timeless classic that not only revitalized the company but also laid the groundwork for its future legacy in video game audio. The music for Bubble Bobble is famously simple but incredibly catchy, to the point of being repetitive. Its success lies not in a vast variety of tracks, but in the infectious main theme that has become synonymous with the game. So the original arcade soundtrack for this game, Bubble Bobble, as I mentioned, was composed by Tadashi Kimijima with the in-house Taito sound team Zuntata, also credited. The music is characterized by its whimsical, upbeat, and almost childlike sound, which perfectly complements the game's cute aesthetic and simple premise. So the main theme, The Quest Begins, is the centerpiece of the Bubble Bobble soundtrack, and it's often referred to, as I mentioned, The Quest Begins. This track is iconic for its cheerful, looping melody. For most of the game's 100 levels, this is the only music you will actually hear. Its repetitive nature can be both a source of charm and a point of frustration, actually, for players, depending on their tolerance for repetition. There are other notable tracks from the Bubble Bobble OST. While the main theme is the star, the soundtrack does feature a few other short, distinct jingles that signal important in-game events. There's the theme for Hurry Up, This is a faster, more frantic version of the main theme that begins to play when the Baron von Bluba, the unstoppable monster, appears on screen. Its increased tempo creates a sense of urgency and panic, forcing the player to quickly finish the level. The boss theme is short and more dissonant and dramatic track, and it plays during the boss fights. And the invincibility theme is short, it's fast-paced. It's a fast-paced jingle that plays when the player collects a specific power-up that makes them invincible. The ending themes. The game has two different ending themes, a bad ending and a happy ending, which play depending on whether the player completes the game in single-player or two-player mode and meets certain conditions. Jingles. There are also various very short jingles for events like a stage clear, getting a game over, and the title screen. The legacy of Bubble Bobble soundtrack is tied to its main theme. The piece is instantly recognizable and has been remixed and rearranged countless times in sequels and other games. The success of its simple but infectious melody proves that a memorable tune, even if it's the only one you hear for an hour straight, can define a game's entire feel.